2nd, 2012, and this is Day 9 Daily number 413. Day 9, did you get a haircut? Nah, I sucked it in. This is the Day 9 Daily where we learn to be a better gamer. And today, I'm so delighted to let you know we're looking at Millennium Feast. I believe a Belgian player. I've been watching most of his replays today, and I guess I should double confirm that he actually is Belgian. And you know what? We're not even going to restart the daily so I can find out. We're going to open up Liquipedia, which is the best resource for any of your questions at all. Go to liquipedia.net. It's the Team Liquid wiki. It's amazingly comprehensive. All the information you'd ever want to know about players' leagues, or more importantly, the replays for those leagues, are all there. And that's where I went today to get these replays. Indeed, our good friend Feast is from Belgium, and his style of PvT involves a lot of aggression and some really cleverly timed early Stalker tactics, which I love, because I just like being aggressive. Because as you note, I'm just not a very aggressive person in general, so StarCraft is my outlet for that. Ha! So, wanted to talk about some important announcements. Sunday there will be no daily. Because it is the Super Bowl Sunday, and I'm an American. There you go. Cool. There we go. That's all there is to that. Fun Day Monday for next week is, of course, the alphabetical free-for-all, whereby you must play a public free-for-all and kill your opponents in alphabetical order. No cheating and starting with Z. No, you got to kill all the Admiral Aardvarks and the Bridget Beavers out there. Not that there's that many people who really have those names, but I think after today's daily, you know you have a name change. Do it. That's right, Admiral Aardvark to the rescue. Submit those to Monday at day9.tv. For next week's Newbie Tuesday, there is no Newbie Tuesday. In fact, there is an 8-hour-plus streamathon between myself and 10 of my good buddies in the gaming community, where we will all be playing Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning, all at the same time. And there's actually a Twitch TV page for it now, because I contacted Twitch TV and was like, hey, we're all streaming, could you maybe help put all our stuff in one place? And they said, of course, we're a streaming platform, why would we not want to help you? And I was like, I'm an idiot. That is at twitch.tv/team/reckoning. I think that's public right now. Hope so. Certainly hope so. Screw it. Whatever. Tuesday I'll be doing all that maximum streaming action. Now let's talk about this game at hand. I want to talk about PvT. I know everyone's saying things like PvT is stupid and unwinnable and it is unfair and all this and that and that and that. But interestingly, the distribution of win percentages has never been closer than in recent times. In fact, Protoss has just barely started to win more games than Terran. I think it's something like 52 to 48%. Obviously, it changes over time, but it's still pretty damn close. And regardless of how difficult the late game feels against a Protoss player, I really think that the early game causes some big difficulties for a Protoss player. Let's talk a little bit about those difficulties. The Terran player has a variety of strategies that he can throw at us. 1-1-1. Actually, let me just say, the 1-1-1 strategy. He can go for a 2 barracks early pressure strategy. He can go for a standard 1 barracks early expand, cloaked Banshee rushes, early Blue Flame Hellion drops, regular Hellion drops, and Hellion harassment. And I can just stop right here, and there's a pretty big variety. Let me actually even throw the names of the buildings out of there and just describe it in terms of some basics. Cloaked Banshee, Marine Marauder pressure, Hellion pressure. Already some big differences going on here. The 1-1-1 is Marine Tank, right? There's just big unit variety. So what does this cause in the Protoss player? What it causes is this urge to have the magical unit or the magical upgrade that will fix all my problems. You know what that one almost always tends to be? Here, I'll give you a hint. I'll give you a hint, you guys. I'll give you a hint. Here I am doing it. Here I am. This is the unit that you use right here. He's climbing up a cliff like an idiot with his big dumb head that people just want to shove over. The Colossus. You rely on the Colossus. I don't know what inspired me to do that, but you know what? You now will never forget. Except you may not know what my train of thought is, but we're going to come back to that right now. In Protoss vs. Terran, you feel this urge in the early game to revolve yourself around defending and those money upgrades. The Colossus, it's so good, I need to hurry up and get it in time. Oh my gosh, he could be having a huge Marine Marauder drop coming up soon and a huge attack at the front. All your plays tend to begin revolving around the Colossus. Or something like, wow, his Marine Marauder force is so strong, I can get double +1/+1 upgrades for fast +2/+2. Again, revolving around that money upgrade. Or getting Psionic Storm up. I can't tell you how often nowadays, especially on the Korean server, players who use that is a little bit too big of a crutch. If they whiff 1 or 2 storms, chink, they're dead. So we've been seeing this evolution of players to getting away from having crutch units and crutch upgrades like zealot legs, and more towards interesting, finesseful plays, in particular the blink stalker play. What's the best way to respond to a Terran who's getting a lot of expansions and getting a lot of barracks up? You blink up into his base, you put pressure on him. Screw what units he's making, you're bringing the noise back to him. So what I wanted to look at is 3 games from Millennium's Feast, where he's going to open up with a pretty damn simple opening that solves a ton of problems. In particular, it's going to pop us out of the role of huge, super defensive, oh my god, I need my Colossus role, and put us into the attacking role. And that's always one of my favorite things. Just as a general statement, whenever you're feeling really lost on how to defend against all the possibilities, one of the best things to do is start attacking earlier. Let's take a look. We have Millennium Feast over here in ourselves, the good old, whoa, in a good old scrolling position. He's spawning here at the right. He is against Slayer's MMA, who is down here in the bottom left. And this is on dual site. This is from IEM Kiev. Again, go to Liquipedia and you can get all of these things for yourself. It's going to be good. By the way, I just saw this comment pop up on chat that I want to talk about a little bit. You heard me talk about crutch upgrades like Zealot Leg, Storm, Blink, Colossus +1/+1, and I said, well, Blink is an example of not that. I definitely need to clarify that. When I say these crutch upgrades, I mean for like these direct engagements. How do you win the direct engagement? Well, you have the Colossus, or you have the 1/1, or this sort of thing. But I want to try to steer you away from how do we win the big direct engagement, because that's another way of saying how do we win when Terran finally eventually decides to engage us. Now it's Protoss taking the aggression back to the Terran. It's a lot of Blink Stalker plays, a lot of Warp Prism drop play, and today we're going to look at some early Stalker Gateway play. So let's go ahead and look at what Feast is going to do in the early game. Now, a lot of things that I want to talk about today are again going to be these conditionality type things. Kind of like what we did with Xenio's Hydra to Muta style yesterday. There he is, getting his gateway down. Already I want to note something that is pretty significant. Feast did not stop chrono boosting. Once. It was a chrono boost, and then right at 75% of the 12th probe, he chrono boosts again. Right at here is where you're generally chrono boosting again, right? Yep, there. You see when it's about halfway between the 4, that's when the chrono boost wears off. And he just whoosh, chrono boosts again, builds himself a gateway and moves on. We're going to see Feast super favoring probes early on. Look at this. He queues up the 15th worker. You can build your gas on 14 and not have worker interruption. That is absolutely easily possible to do. But he is going to elect to build this assimilator a little bit later. Why? Because he just wants a few extra seconds of dudes mining minerals. I think that that is really important. This build is thin and close enough that you do need these extra 50 to 100 minerals here and there. Gateway being built at a pretty typical time. Also, one thing to note, when he had enough to chrono boost again, he did. And we're just going to go ahead and look at that, so that way it's blistered into your mind. Look at that, right after he builds it, look, 24, 25, whoosh! Right on that nexus. Make sure you get the money whoosh on there. You know you want the money whoosh. This is going to, all these things, all this super aggressive chrono boosting on your probes is going to help you get a few extra minerals. Notice when the gateway's finished, we can instantly build the cybernetics core. It's not one of those awkward things where our gateway finishes and we're broke and we have to wait a little while and then we build a core. Nice clean timing. And puts dudes over on into the gas. Notice that Feast is not obsessing about putting units into gas by any means. He's just slowly, gradually getting himself some gas. And as we're going to see, he builds one zealot while all is going on, and he is not going to build another Stalker. He's just building this one single zealot. And he slowly added those dudes in. Notice that as his cybernetics core is finishing, he has just enough to get Warp Gate. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to play the conditional game. Oh yeah, the conditional game. Ladies and gents, my opponent has a gas geyser up. I saw a barracks in the start of a wall off at the front. What could he be doing? Ba-dum-bum-ba-dum-bum-bum-bum. Anything? Literally anything. You don't try to conclude what he is doing, you try to cross off possibilities. What can't he be doing? I guess an ultra-fast command center. However, when we leave, he can still just build a slightly delayed command center. He probably can't be going for some sort of really aggressive 2 barracks. And by really, really aggressive, I mean just Marine 2 barracks. So we have a little bit of leeway time there. But things are pretty open. That's the big emphasis that I want to play right now. So coolly enough, what are we going to see Feast do with his next set of 25 resources? He's literally gone probe, done all his chrono boosts on the probe until he starts that warp gate. And now he is just, as he gets energy, going to spend every single chrono boost on that warp gate research. Here he is taking the expansion back home. In all the replays we're going to see, he's very on the ball with chrono boosting. Probably should be a little bit more on the ball right now, but whatever. So there's an interesting thing to note that he is, in fact, cutting workers right now at 25 to 26. He's getting this extra Stalker up. This opening is pretty darn thin at the early stage. Notice that he is getting this expansion before he gets Stalker number 1, and, most importantly of all, before he gets Pylon number 3. He literally goes Zealot, Nexus, Stalker, Pylon, and then he's going to come back and make himself some probes. And with this Zealot, he's just happily waltzing his way forward. Easily just going to prod up here to the high ground. I think that he probably should have been at least somewhat more cautious. Maybe had this probe do a little bit of a poke first. But right now, he's starting to get some good information. He's starting to see that there are some Marines down right now. For any of you who are curious about what this exact timing is, I don't actually need to theorize at all, I can just show you. This is the timing that happens when you build yourself a couple of Marines. See, look, 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to lift and move it aside. Boink. So in other words, when Feast arrives here and sees this, we can cross a bunch of stuff off right away. He is not going for a 2 barracks opening. The 2 barracks opening I'm thinking of is where he gets a reactor and a tech lab. He is not doing that because he would not build 3 Marines and then get this add-on. He would build 1 Marine and get the add-on and then get the other barracks churning out some Marauders and he'd put pressure on. He just can't be doing that right now. Could he be early expanding? Yeah, he could be early expanding. Could he be doing a 1-1-1? Yeah, totally. He could be doing all that. Cool. But in particular, we're not that worried about some of that early aggression stuff. So now that Feast finishes up this pylon, notice that we're building 2 gateways right at 26. We're actually going to end up with 3 chrono boosts on our warp gate, and that's a very important number. It's going to allow us to have our warp done at 6 minutes. Obviously, we're getting our expansion up. We're building more probes. And because we have this nice timing, we're going to have a zealot and 2 stalkers out of our gateway. It looks honestly quite a bit like a 4-gate in PvP. I've been spending almost all my energy trying to show you all the exact timings up to this point. We're going to be hopping into the why a little bit more aggressively in a moment. But right now I just want you to be aware of what? We're getting our second gas the instant we can afford it after we're building these other 2 guys. And look at that. Research complete at 5 minutes and 50 seconds. It's going to take another 10 seconds for those warp gates to crank into action. It's going to take another 5 seconds to do the warp in down here. And all our units are popping right on out. Dum-de-doom-de-doom. So here is the start to the big point of the whole day. We are going to solve a lot of our problems in this matchup by going absolutely crazy aggressive with stalkers early on. Time for us to talk a little bit about timings. If our player is trying to go for some sort of mega early Banshee with Cloak, 2 things are true. 1, it would be really hard for him to have this sized army. It would be very hard for him to have this many Marines at this point in time and have much else. 2, if we get a Banshee as fast as humanly possible, it's probably going to finish at around 6 minutes and 40 seconds. What does that mean? It means that all these thoughts about, oh my god, do I have detection in time? I need to build my robo. I need to defend. I need to make sure I have enough. How do I scout him? All this is solved by this nice early attack. If our Terran player is indeed going for some sort of Banshee play, we're immediately going to be able to put a ton of pressure on him in this way. So Feast, by seeing these Hellions and seeing the size of this army, knows that his opponent cannot physically afford a Banshee with Cloak this quickly. And just, since we have just a few more minutes left on this part, we are going to finish this game, but I really want to address this Cloaked Banshee issue really quickly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up a game between Baby K, Baby Knight from Team Navi, and Empire Happy, just to show you the timing of this, just so it's clear. What did we see outside the front of the of our opponent's base at around 6 minutes and 15 seconds? We saw 7 or 8 Marines and 3 Hellions. And I'm claiming that this allows us to cross off that fast Banshee. Let's go ahead and take a look at this game really fast, just as a demonstration. We are going to come back to the Feast game for part number 2. Just finish that one up. But I think it's really important to illustrate the way a Banshee rush looks. Okay, what do we see in the last game? At 6 minutes and 15 seconds, 7 or 8 Marines and 3 Hellions. 7 or 8 Marines and 3 Hellions. Look at the way Happy's base looks. He's going to build a Marine, and there's another Marine, and here comes the factory. A little bit of a delay, and now he's going to be building a bunker right off the bat. See how idle this barracks is? It can't really do that much, but you know what? We can't really afford to do that much else. We got ourselves a refinery, we got ourselves a bunker up. Here comes a single Hellion and the starport coming up right away. Hellion pops up. Here's our factory, building ourselves a tech lab. Boom. Banshee, there's Cloak, and then the Banshee starts as quickly as we can. Banshee starts at 5 minutes and 45 seconds. That is a fast-ass Banshee. So, this means that it's going to be done at 6:45. Look at this base. It has a bunker and 3 Marines. Sure, we maybe could have had 4 or 5 Marines out, but look how low we are on gas. It's hard to squeeze in a reactor before then and still get all this stuff coming out right on time. And most importantly of all, we saw 3 Hellions. Not 1, we saw 3. This factory has only had time to build a Hellion, get a tech lab, and then move on to other interesting things, like floating. So this base that I want you to see, this is what an ultra-fast Cloaked Banshee base looks like. Which means that if our attack moved into his base at 6 minutes and 10 seconds, this is the front of a base that we would see. This would be our experience. Cool, right? What great learning that has happened. If any of you have ever been scared of things like a cloaked banshee, go do it yourself, or go watch replays till you find a game of someone really doing it, and then I want you to envision attacking that player and look at what you would see. So we're going to go on to part number 2, where we're going to finish up that game, where we're going to really see the strength of this early Stalker play, and more importantly, how he's going to transition it out. Smooth transitions in the daily.